Hello everybody, welcome to HearthCenter, for lack of any other creative name that we could come up with. I am Donde, and I'm here with Jammies, and we are going to be talking about the Ragnaros Power Rankings, the Sylvanas Power Rankings, and the Fantasy League Stardom Situm. We were hoping to have some actual rankings for that, but we don't. So there's one rule tonight, just before I throw it over to Jammies real quick. Blame me for everything. You can blame me for the rankings. You can blame me for stream operating, everything. So it's my fault. It's not Jamie's fault. How do you feel about that setup, Jamie's?
That was the expectation when I signed up to do this, so I'm glad you're following through.
Yeah, I'm taking blame for it all. So please direct all your hatred to me, unless you unless you really want to be mad at Jamie's. But he's got such a nice face. Like, why would you be mad at him for anything? So just to kind of go over what we're going to be doing tonight in a little bit more detail. The power rankings that you see on the website, they'll be coming up tomorrow. They're the same rankings you're going to see tonight, but this is kind of your way of getting a quick preview of what you'll see. I'll give a little bit more in-depth discussion on the blog post tomorrow, but we're going to talk about it all tonight. We're going to go 10 through 1 on Ragnaros. We're going to go 10 through 1 on Sylvanas. Talk about some of our honorable mentions. James is going to tell me why I'm wrong on everything as we talked about, and then we're going to talk about fantasy as well. So stay tuned here. We would also like to remind everyone that, and anybody who's already subbed to the channel, thank you so much. It helps us out tremendously, but if you have not done so, please consider doing so, as it's going to help us only improve the number and quality of streams and other features for the league. So it's always very, very helpful, and we thank you greatly for it. So that is all I got for our introduction. So is there anything you want to say, James, before we get going?
Yeah, I was going to say, you can direct all your hatred and all of the failures of this show to Donde, and all successes towards me. So
yes, absolutely. And just to give you an idea, so one thing we had talked about with the power rankings before the season started is trying to come up with a formula to set everything up as fairly as possible, and to try and account for seeds, and to try and account for PR spreads and things like that. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I was not satisfied with any formula that I could make, and I didn't think that I should use a formula that I was not 100% confident in. So we are going back to a little bit of a mix of everything, looking at PR differences, looking at quality wins, looking at how many wins, how many game wins, etc., and just in general as something that Jack Sox mentioned a few weeks ago, just passing the eye test. So all that stuff is taken into account. There's no one particular piece that is more important than the others, per se. It's just a kind of collaboration of all of these things. So that, I just wanted to let you know where we're coming from with these rankings. And again, I can't fit everybody, so I sincerely apologize if anyone is upset, but there's no intended slights to anyone at all. when we're doing these rankings. So, all of the caveats out of the way now, let's go ahead and look at Ragnaros first. And this is me trying to buy time here while I figure out how the hell the stream operate properly. James, you want to be entertaining real quick?
Yeah, so before we head into this top 10, I just want to let everyone know that I don't endorse or support Donde's top 10, and we're going to be really getting into it once he's able to get that up. Otherwise, I don't know. You want me to tell a joke? You want me to tell everyone about my day? I don't know.
No, you don't have to do that. It's funny. I believe your exact terms were this list is garbage.
No. I think my exact words are this list is trash.
That sounds right. That's
Yeah.
Sorry. So garbage, trash. I apologize. Look at the stream right now. It looks like your camera's popped off. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm having some video issues. My girlfriend is binging The Office for the 500th time in a row.
Okay, I mean,
So
it makes complete sense.
yeah, only have so much internet.
Well, hopefully we get your
It's a
stream
very
back up here. Yes, I'm in my bandwidth. It's again, maybe for everyone's subs, we'll be able to afford more bandwidth for our talent, on-air talent.
Yeah, sub so I can upgrade my internet.
Seems reasonable to me.
Mm-hmm.
I totally fail at this. I don't know what the hell's going on. All right, so we are just going to start talking about it, and if I can figure out how to get it up on the screen, we'll go there. Because, high quality production and all. Mm-hmm. So to start, like I said, we're going to go with Ragnaros. We're going to go 10 to 1. So 10th being, of course, the 10th place player. And number 10 for Ragnaros is going to be the Chronic at 4-0 and a game score of 12 wins and 3 losses. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I guess, hard to want to rank somebody who's 4-0 that low, but we have quite a few undefeated players, so definitely no slight meant. And going up the list, Blue Sombrero is number 9, 3-1, with an 11-6 game record. Scritch is 8th at 4-0, and that's a 12-3 game record. Risen will be 7th at 3-1, with a 10-4 record. And Itachi is 6th with a 3-1 record and 9-4 in games. Anything jump off the list to you there, James?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Is there anything any of those five names, first 5 names on the Ragnaros list jumping out at you?
Yeah, so the Chronic and Scritch specifically, you mentioned that they were both undefeated, and I actually had them ranked higher because of that. They've only dropped 3 games in the 4 weeks that we've had of the season so far. That's very impressive. That's less than 1 match loss a week. I definitely would have put them higher.
Understandable. I guess my thought process on it, when I'm looking through the first 4 weeks of play, the quality wins factor, just trying to see who they played, and not to take anything away from them. Of course, as mentioned, 4-0 is 4-0. It's impressive regardless how you cut it. And as you said, 12-3 is absolutely phenomenal. Just kind of, I guess, waiting a little bit for some of the signature wins. I think Scritch had a really solid win in there. I have to check and see exactly where he was. But yeah, it's tough. Especially early on, we've got a lot of really lumped together records. So 4-0, 3-1. Difference obviously can just be losing 1 game to go 3-2 versus a 2-3 loss the other way. So really tough to rank the players. And these anybody who's in the top 10 could easily fall off next week.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, there are a lot of players that are close, right? You mentioned that there's some 4-0 players, but
Yeah.
There's a ton of players that are 3-1 right now, and all with really good
Oh,
match
absolutely.
scores. So this list could be, I don't know if it could be completely different, but 50% of it could definitely change come next week or come the end of this week.
Yeah, I mean, 50% would not even shock me. And the rankings are going to change on a week to week basis, and hopefully we're going to do this on a week to week basis if we can, iron out all the streaming issues that we're having. Um, what is going on with you?
It's always the roughest.
Why are you all over my screen, man?
Me?
Yeah.
I have a lot of powers that you are unaware of.
Apparently, Streamlabs has no idea where your camera is right now. Like, you are just off. on stream, I'm taking my pants off. Thanks, Darkside.
Fancy. See that?
That's concerning.
Did you want to move on with the
Yeah, let's
power rankings?
let's move on because Discord hates me, and so hopefully you'll be able to see what I just posted in a second. There we go. All right, so we're getting images up on the screen. So there's our 10 through 5. So now we're going to reveal the top 5 Ragnaros players through the first 4 weeks of the season. So, what was that?
Before we move on, can I say one thing, actually?
Go right ahead.
Well, right.
Are you still
You Yeah, sorry, I'm still struggling, but you said you revealed the bottom 5.
Yeah, we revealed the 10 through 6 so far.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I think actually you have Itachi ranked a little bit too high as well, given his game score 9-4, and that means that he got swept one week, and he's won all of or most of his games like 3-2 about, right? So I think, yeah, his record is impressive, but there are other 3-1 players that have better match scores. So that would be another change that I would make.
Definitely a reasonable argument. I would say he has had a couple sweeps of his own, which is obviously impressive at the 2 seed, no less. And some of the wins he's had have been very quality. He beat Apex in week 1, which we know he's a very solid player week in and week out. He swept Catman 1950, who I actually have in our honorable mentions, which we're going to go back and talk about here after we get through the top 10. A sweep of a fantastic player. Who's having a great season in his own right so far. And I should mention that even though Itachi dropped to the 2 seed, he is doing all this at the 1 seed through the first 4 weeks of the season. So, that obviously not, placing any too much emphasis on a 1 seed versus a 2 versus a 3 versus a 4 or 5, but you tend to see the better players gravitate up the ranks as the season goes on, just because of the way our format is. He beat Crovan 3-1 as well. That was week 3.
Yeah, I would have put him here had his sweep been like at the beginning of the season, but because he was swept last week, I think I would have dropped him a little bit lower. He got swept by a yellow dart of Dad Legend.
Yep, that is correct. And yeah, that did hurt him a little. Actually, I had him before week 4. I had him really high up there, so it did actually hit him a little bit to drop down to 6 there.
Gotcha.
Did I lose you for a second? Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I thought, okay.
Okay. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about 5 through 1. So, coming in at number 5 is Ridiculous Hat with a 3-1 record and 11-4 game score. And number 4 is Edelweiss, 3-0, 9-1.
Gross. That's gross.
That's 90% win rate. Who was the lucky person to take one game off for? I don't even know. Dr. Zephyr comes in at number 3 at 4-0, 12-5 record, and then number 2 is someone I've talked about before as my potential rookie of the year so far is two-star Mako at 4-0 and a 12-2 game score. And that leaves number one, as we pop it up on screen here, that's Sir Los at 4-0 and a 12-5 record. Mm-hmm. So, as you see, 4 players there undefeated. Edelweiss the only one who's not 4-0, but only because she happened to miss week 1. Thankfully for me, because I was supposed to play her, I got swept anyway, so totally doesn't matter, you know. Thanks, Durden, for that one. But what are your thoughts on the top 5 there? If 4 undefeated players, that's, you know, as you mentioned with the Chronic and Scritch, tend to gravitate those players up to the top of the list. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I know that they're 5 seeds, but it's still, you know, going 4-0, only dropping 3 games, like that's really good.
Jamie's fallen into the robot pit, apparently.
So they're both 1 seeds that are undefeated. So I would definitely, like, in terms of undefeated players, and if they have similar match scores, then I would definitely go by the seeding and the quality of wins. I think Sirlos is ranked a little bit too high. I know he's undefeated, but I would put, you know, 2-star Mako has a better match score and is the same seed, and Dr. Zephyr has been playing 1 seeds all season and is undefeated. I can understand having Edel a little bit lower because he was the 2 seed prior to the season, but he has only dropped one game, like not 1 set, like 1 game. That's nice in 3 games. Yeah, that's good. If you can keep it up, like, you know, that's 90%. That'll be rough to keep up, but if you can, man, that's MVP stats right there.
Yeah, definitely. For what it's worth, I believe Edelweiss is female. Just so we have our pronouns correctly. Yeah, no, she. This is so.
Girls game too.
Funny aside, my bowling league, we bowl with all aliases, and we often play lady or dude because we don't know sometimes what gender they are. So it's kind of the same thing here, where you might not know who's who. But anyway, I see chat is kind of blowing up a little bit about the top 5, which I expected. And again, hate me, not Jamie's. But yeah, I mean, I guess when you're talking about quality of wins, that does come into play. Part of it too is if you look at somebody who is in the 4 or the 5 seed, sure, they're not playing other, you know, they're playing other 4 or 5 seeds and not 1 seeds or 2 seeds, but sometimes those, like, the PR difference can be massive, and it's an upset for, you know, some of these players. So it's definitely a situation where we don't want to discount, you know, somebody who plays in the 4 or 5 seed, because a win is a win there, just as it is for a 1 seed or a 2 seed. And Catman, I totally agree with you.
2 players have the same match score. Sorry.
I'm sorry, you were cutting in and out there. I didn't know if you were still talking there. Just to address Catman, it definitely is harder for a 1 seed to go undefeated than a 5 seed. In most cases, you know, the quality of your opponents are probably going to be consistently higher, just by the nature of the league. As we talked about, you know, as you win, you tend to gravitate upwards in your own team between, you know, 5 seed, 4 seed, or in my case, if you suck, you are dropping from the 1 all the way to the 3 seed this week. So that's, you know, not impressive the opposite direction, but yeah, it's tough. It is subjective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially this early in the season. So when I look at power rankings, I'm definitely of the mindset that Blue Sombrero just mentioned. I'm looking at undefeated players, and I would definitely put undefeated players towards the top. However, I think if there were 2 heavyweight 1 seeds that played against each other and one lost, I don't know how much I can punish that 1 seed player for losing against another undefeated player. So I can't go completely based on game score or match score, but I think we're a little.
Oh. I think we lost Jamie's again. Hello? Okay. So, to his point, it is completely a valid concern. and why I think that we are going to obviously toast-driven internet. I think that's why we're going to draw a little bit of ire. Or I'm personally going to draw a little ire with these rankings, and I totally get it. Can't please everyone, so you know. I guess while waiting for Jamies to get reconnected here, hopefully shortly, just a couple of the honorable mentions, players that were like right on the cusp of being in the top 10, people that I feel definitely deserve a shout out. Nate D, I don't know which is Nated 4444. He was 3-1, 11-6. Catman 1950 was 3-1 with a 9-7 record. Dexter HS at 3-1, 11-5. Ironfire 3-1. 10-6, and I was hoping Jamies would be here because I have him as an honorable mention as well, 3-1 and 10-5. So those are the 5 players that I would say are probably like the closest to breaking in. He's asked me to send him another invite to the call, so let's see if we can get him back here. Jamies, are you there?
Yes, I am.
No idea what happened there, my friend, but hopefully we actually have you back and on screen would be great too.
Yeah, but it says my camera's on, but I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with you specifically, but we while you were away a little bit there, we were just talking about the top 5 honorable mentions: Nate D, Catman, Dexter, Ironfire, and yourself. Those I would say that you 5 are the players that are most likely to break into the top 10 within the next week or two. There are several other 3-1 players that are just outside of that. Just to run through them, real quick: MMI, Darkside, Slim, Shadow Ranger, Coles, Myth, Dave Pettum. Even beyond that, we had some other players that had. I think there was like a 2-0 player that was sitting there. That I just didn't feel like had enough games yet to really evaluate.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's where we're at. I think in RAG right now, a lot of good players, a lot of good records, and that'll hopefully flesh itself out as we go along here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely, like we said, we expect this list to be very different from next week. There are a lot of good matchups this week that will definitely impact the power rankings. So if you wanna see yourself on our list, get good.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. All right. So we're going to jump into Sylvanas now. Might see a few similar names on this list as well. So just like last time, we're going to start with the bottom 5, I suppose. Not to say that they're the bottom 5 of the league, but bottom 5 of the top 10. So 10 through 6, we're going to start with Ironfire. He's 3-1 at 11-4, so he's 10th. Jayak, he loves that we can't pronounce his name. He's 9, and he's 3-1 at 10-6 as well. Finnick Dare is in 8th at 3-1, also 10-6. Killer Veebs 4-0 at 7th. He's 12-6 in games. And then Myth is 6th at 3-1 and a 10-4 game score.
Yeah, so I think so. I don't even follow Sylvanas, and I think I have a bigger gripe with your list in this one than in the other one, just because I saw these honorable mentions and I'm like, man, these dudes are killing it. Like, and I don't want to say any names yet because you haven't revealed it. But it just to go on it, I think is it Jayak? I think is a little overrated.
We don't know what his name is because he refused to tell me how to pronounce it.
Finnick Dare, I think is too high, and Myth I think is too high. Killer Veebs I don't think is high enough actually. Like, this is he subbed before, but this is his first season as a full-time starter, and to see him go 4-0 at a 12-6 match score is really good, and I'm glad that he's been killing it.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, I know he was a member of Team Next Level last season. Is that right?
He for like the first week, and he had some.
Yep.
He had some issues. He couldn't commit to the league then.
Yeah, definitely. a strong start, and definitely a case to be made for moving him up. And I think as we'll see as we get into the top five, there's a lot more undefeated players. I actually think there were a lot more undefeated players, period, in Sylvanas than there were in Rag. But yeah, similar situation. It's tough to make these calls. Just a couple of them are based on what I saw as like quality wins versus maybe just an easier schedule to open the season. That's not a terrible thing. I mean, if you're winning, you're winning. It doesn't matter. But yeah, sometimes it's just a victim of the scheduling, I suppose. Ironfire gets defeated by Pings. Well, defeated by Pings and one other player so far, I suppose. All right, so let's move on to the top five for Sylvanas. Number 5 is Risen at 4-0, 12-4 in games. Number 4 is Boozosaurus at 3-1, 11-6 in games. And the next 3 are all going to be undefeated at 4-0. It's going to be number 3 is Clark Hellscream at 12-6. Number 2 is _Big Ted at 4-0, 12-2. And you can't possibly argue number 1. It's Bill Snyder. He's 4-0 and 12-0, which is just absurd that he hasn't even dropped a single game yet.
Yeah, so this is I actually agree with your top 5. I think that these guys are exactly where they need to be. And I want to give like a shout out to Risen. Like across both leagues, he's 7-1 with a 22-8 match score. Like, dude, that's crazy. That is crazy. Good going, Risen. And that's at the 2 seed in Ragnaros too. Like, he's playing some big boys.
Yeah, I mean, a lot's been said about Risen, at least in the few seasons that I've played. This is like my personal 3rd season overall in the league, and Risen gets talked about as a fantastic player who is very, very heady when it comes to his plays, and he proves it week in and week out. Just the fact that he's always 4-0, 3-1, like always near the top of the standings, always helping his team win. So yeah, it's being 4-0 at 12-4 and being in the 5th spot isn't a slight to him. It's just that we've got a couple guys that are absolutely going crazy right now above him.
Yeah, so I agree with your top 5. I think these are the 5 best players in Sylvanas right now.
Okay, I
definitely the ones to look up.
Didn't expect to get universal praise there from you, but I'll take it. And just to run through a few of the honorable mentions for Sylvanas, we had Haymaker at 3-1, 11-5. Sin also 3-1 at 11-5. Osmonaut also 3-1, 11-5. All 3 of them are fairly interchangeable as far as ranking. Very, very similar in terms of strength of schedule, in terms of obviously game scores, identical as well. Dave Pedham is 3-0. I know we mentioned him in the honorable mentions for Rag, so that's another player who's high performing in both leagues. 9-6 there. Wildfire 80-10, 3-1 with an 11-3 record. I actually, this was largely part of I guess the strength of schedule so far, but 11-3 just worth mentioning as a fantastic record so far.
Yeah. So when I looked at your honorable mentions, I was like, why aren't these guys in the top 10? I would have replaced like 4 of these guys with like 4 out of the guys that you had in the 5 through 10 slots.
Yeah.
I was looking at Haymaker, Sin, Dav, Pedham, I don't know, and Wildfire as dudes that looked like they had strong. Again, I don't really follow Sylvanas that closely because my time is limited this season. But these match scores, like, that's impressive. And
Yeah.
Dave is undefeated. How do you not have him on?
When I was looking through, he did have a couple solid wins, and it's I guess it was more of the 9-6s, a lot of close games. So like that would be 3-2 every week. So I think if he can just get like a signature win or 2, he's right in the conversation. I mean, he's already right in the conversation, but yeah, just just outside of it. And as we go further down the list, Markshire's 3-1, Imposition's 3-1, Carey is 3-1, Blue Spartan, Nate, both 3-1. And then we had the last champ who's 2-0 and 6-0, but again, 2 weeks not enough, I think, to make the rankings so far.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I thought you're like. I guess he is one game behind everybody else, but still, undefeated is undefeated.
Undefeated again in games as well. So yeah, it's hard to rank somebody who's undefeated or not rank somebody who's undefeated, I should say. But yeah, that was largely the thought process there. So you've pretty soundly destroyed me so far in the as far as the rankings are concerned. And chat apparently disagrees with everything we say, or at least everything I say, which is what I expected anyway. So
Yeah, I mean that's how real fantasy works, right? Or real top 10 rankings.
Oh,
Everyone
yeah.
thinks you're wrong.
Yeah, everyone's got their own, everyone's got their opinion, which is totally fine. But we've got the show, so it is what it is.
Yeah, call us out on what you think. Yeah, call us out on what you think. If you think we're wrong, that's
Oh,
just
yeah.
gonna make the show better because we're gonna tell you why we're right.
Well, so I guess let's go back to Ragnaros for a brief second here. Who's a player that you think is gonna be rising? Their stock is gonna be rising in the next few weeks.
Who do I think is gonna start winning more?
Yeah, who do you think is gonna be breaking into the top 10? Let's say in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
I really like the way that. I think I'm having a pretty good season. I wouldn't sleep on me, but I'm not gonna be that guy. So Dexter.
Go ahead and be that guy.
No, I think Dexter's a solid player, and he has a really good matchup this week, and I think it'll propel him into the top 10.
Okay. If I had to pick somebody upcoming, I suppose out of that group that's very close to the top 10 right now. I would say you, but I'm playing you this week, so I have to have confidence in myself. But MMI dropped just a little bit this week because of a loss to Slimsh, which is in no way embarrassment or anything. So he's 3-1 at 10-5 right now. I think that he easily gets his way back into the top 10 in the next week or two, as far as the Ragnaros rankings are concerned.
Yeah. Oh, so we have a question from the chat. What's your justification for Mako over Scritch in Rag? So I would say, yeah, in the Rag. So they're both 4-0. Mako's 12-2 over Scritch's 12-3. Mako is also a rookie and the 3 seed. I think for those two additional reasons, I think that's why I have him higher than Scritch.
I would agree with that.
Why did you put him over Scritch?
Yeah, I mean those are pretty much the reasons right there. Just looking back at let's just go through who they played so far. So 2-star Mako played Lefty in week 1 for a 3-1 win. I played Lefty before, definitely a strong player. And then he played Force of Will, who he 3-0'd. Anytime, doesn't matter who you're playing, if you 3-0 somebody, that's a great week. Not to say that Will's a bad player. I didn't want to imply that, so don't hate me, Will. Then he played Catnip, 3-0, so another sweep back-to-back weeks. And then week 4, we have Brasky. So he actually moved up into the 3 seed. He was the 4 seed, moved up into the 3 seed, and beat Brasky 3-1. I know Brasky's kind of having a down season, but as far as quality of play, I know he's a strong player. So Scritch, and since I'm already on week 4, just going backwards, week 4 was Jack Sox, another good player, 3-1. And Sully the 1, he beat 3-1. J Squared 3-1. And Dirty Mike 3-1. So he's consistently, winning, obviously in good fashion, and a bunch of good players. And it's really splitting hairs, I suppose, who's better there. But yeah, I guess like the quality of wins just slightly higher for 2-star Mako, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these rankings are going to be a lot more clear going into next week because that's when we hit like the 60% threshold, right? Like if you can win 3 out of your 5 sets or whatever,
Yes.
and we'll see the players who can elevate above that 60% threshold, and that'll make this a lot more clear. Players that are like a lot of these 3-1 dudes are going to be 3-2, and they're just going to be obliterated from the list.
Yeah, 3-2 right now. If you drop from 3-1 to 3-2, that pretty much is going to knock you out of the list without something crazy happening, because there's so many 3-1 players just waiting to take your spot right now. So who do you think?
There's so many.
Who do you think in the Sylvanas League is most likely to pop up into the top 10 here in the next week or two?
I can't say for sure. I'm not really familiar with like what last Hero standing meta is like, and not too familiar with many players. I know Carrie's just a great player overall, so I'm looking for him to make a splash in the Sylvanas top 10.
Carey was who I was going to say as well. Obviously, we're a little biased there as being former teammates, but we know he's a fantastic player. I'm actually another player to mention would be in position. We have a lot of talks on Salty Saturday, and he is very knowledgeable about LHS, and I have no doubt that he's going to be able to, work his way back up into the top 10 and keep winning there. So I would say that in position is probably, probably my pick if we want to pick different players, just so that way we keep it interesting. So that is going to do it for the power ranking portion of the show. So we're going to go into the fantasy portion of the show now, which is, I guess, relevant for a smaller subset of the league, but everyone likes to know opinions about themselves. So we're going to talk about who we think is the best players to start this week in week 5, I should say, and the players that you should sit in week 5. And now, a couple ways we can do this. I know personally the way I looked at everything when I was thinking about who I want to start and who I want to sit. It's players that would otherwise look good based on their records or based on previous matchups, but maybe you're just might have a little bit of trouble this week, or vice versa, might bounce back this week if you were going to start them. So I didn't just pick people that were going to be locks, because you don't need me to tell you to start MMI, for example. So, do you want to start us off with your stardom sit 'em? Or let's do stardom, just your one at each seed.
Do you want me to go 1 through 5, or do you want me to go one at a time?
Just go see. Go. Who's your 1 seed that you think you would start this week, no matter what?
This week, I'm starting Dr. Zephyr, who's 4-0 at a 75% match win rate, versus Rumham, who is subbing this week.
Now,
do you want me to say why?
Yeah, give us your reasons. Let's go for it.
Yeah, so Rumham is, I think this is his first season in Conquest, and specifically in the THL format. I think it's not the most intuitive format to be adjusted to. Dr. Zephyr's undefeated, and he's killing it with a great match score. I think he's a very solid 1 seed to start this week.
I will say on the flip side, to be the devil's advocate there, Rumham did just win the THL Open for September. I happened to lose to him in the finals, so slight shout out to myself. But he played.
What's your record?
What was my record in the Open? It was 9-1.
No, what's your record right now?
9-1 in the Open. Is that what you're asking me? 9-1. That's what I thought. So I'm just saying, Rumham is not to be messed with, even though he hasn't played yet. And I think that although Dr. Zephyr is fantastic and doing very well, it could go either way. When you have those closed deck lists, it could change the game.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was gonna say it's a different format than traditional Conquest. That's what I was gonna give he's 4-0 and has a slight edge in terms of knowing how this format works. So that's why I think that he's a solid 1 seed to start this week.
Yeah, no, I definitely a good reasoning there. My 1 seed to start this week, if you've got him on your fantasy team, get him in your lineup, is Boozosaurus, playing Tony Montana for Dirty Mike and the boys. So I think Boozosaurus keeps rolling this week. So who do you have the number 2, James?
Yeah, I think that's a solid. For my number 2, I have Nated444, who's 3-1 at a 56% match win rate or win score against Lotus Knight, who's 1-3 at a 41% match score. And I had to so this one I wasn't terribly excited about, but the 2 seeds this season are so close. Like when I looked down the whole list, everyone was like at 50%, and I was just like, what the heck? So I had to go with the matchup that I thought was the most favorable, and I think Nated has one of the best matchups this week at the 2 seed.
I like that. Definitely agree with that. And to build on that, I've got Aviously as my stardom for the 2 seed. And he's someone we didn't talk about in either Rag or Sylvanas, but he has been doing great in both leagues. I think he was 3-1 in both, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely playing strong overall. And he's playing Niraj this week, who I don't think is a bad player, but Aviously is just playing on a different level right now. So, yep, get him in your lineup if you got him. And I'll just roll into the 3 seed as it's Hockey Boys. I don't think he's playing 4 Mechathune decks anymore, so probably a pretty safe start this week against WoW.Ben.
Oh no, you should definitely get rid of them.
I mean,
4 Mechathune decks are the way to go.
You know, if you play 4 Mechathune decks, then you know you're playing 3 Mechathune decks after one gets banned. So it's just maximizing your Mechathune potential, really.
Right.
What do you think for 3 seed this week?
For my 3 seed, which is my, I don't know, the one that I'm the most confident about, and it'd be 2-star Mako versus Mega Man. Now, 2-star Mako's 4-0, and Mega Man is 3-1. But 2-star Mako, man, has an 86% win rate right now. And yep. I don't know if, Mega Man might be 3-1, but he's been playing some really close sets, whereas Mako has just been blowing people out of the water. I think this is my, if you have him, you better start him or you're making a big mistake pick.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, at this point, if you're not starting him every week, most likely it's probably a mistake, unless you've got somebody else that is in consideration of the 3 seed. But yeah, definitely a solid pick. And I would say, like, for my 4 seed, I'm going to pick Darkside as the stardom this week. He's playing, and I guess people are gonna say biased because he's on my team, but he's playing against let's see, I don't even know who my own teammate's playing this week off the top of my head. It's a Geo65656PL. This is mostly, I guess, like a PR difference thing. He's got what, about almost 200 PR. Yeah. So basically, Darkside, if you don't win, shame.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think for a 4 seed?
For 4 seed, I mentioned this earlier, but Dexter HS, he's 3-1 right now with a 69% match win rate, and he's playing against Force of Will, who hasn't won a set this season and only has a 29% match win rate. I think this is the game that is going to elevate Dexter into the top 10.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And something chat mentioned, Aviously is 4-0 in Ragnaros. And now that I look at it, that might have actually just been a complete oversight on my part when making the rankings. So thanks for pointing that out. I think I just whiffed, to be quite honest with you.
Remember, it's all Donde's fault if something goes wrong.
It is all my fault. I said it at the top, so I accept all blame. But thank you for pointing out that he is 4-0, because that should be fixed. Yeah, Sharpie, he's not underrated. I love Aviously. He knows that. So if he's watching, or if he catches wind of this, please, no broken heart.
Yeah, if you're undefeated, you definitely belong on the top 10 right now.
Yeah, I might have to fix that for publication tomorrow, so we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, let's move on to the 5 seed. Who you got in the 5 seed as your stardom this week?
In the 5 seed, I have the Chronic. He's got an 80% match win rate at 4-0 against Altenberg at 1-3 with a 47% match score. I just think this is, like, the Chronic is also having a really good season. It's hard to bet against somebody who's got an 80% win score. Altenberg's kind of struggling this season. This one I wasn't feeling too comfortable about. I went more with, like, the differential in the match percentage than anything else. But I think this is a good match for the Chronic.
Do you think Altenberg reads the meta trends each week? Because maybe that would help him out.
I think he writes them. So, in terms of, like, understanding, I was gonna say, instead of, Altenberg definitely has an understanding of what the meta is. Sometimes I think, or in terms of class selection, right? But that's just the overarching thing. Like, archetypes play a huge role in this, and one of the reasons why we can't go too in depth is because people, don't reveal what archetypes they play. and for good reason. Like, you don't want to know that someone prefers playing a certain archetype, right? It'll let you tech against that deck.
Definitely.
But I think, Chronic's 4-0. I expect them to be 5-0 at the end of this week.
Perfect. And my pick for the 5 seed to win
and
is
for yourself.
Yeah, it's Dave Pedham, another player who's been doing fantastic, as we mentioned at the top, in both leagues, playing against Doc McButt this week. So I would definitely have Dave in your starting lineup if you have him. And we mentioned if you have, like, we're not talking about multiple leagues here. Obviously, we're talking about one league, so only one person has all of these players. So we're talking to very specific people. But something that we're actually hopefully trying to get going shortly, if you're interested, is a DraftKings style fantasy league that we're going to actually be doing a beta of, which it was the idea of Darkside. He came up with it in a moment of genius. And Jerry Damage is going to be taking control of running it. So it's going to be similar where you get points for wins, points for sweeps, and you have to fit your team into an 1,800 point cap each week, regardless of what seeds, 1 through 5, doesn't matter. You can start 5 3 seeds if you want to, as long as it all works under 1,800, and multiple people can start the same person. So if you've ever played DraftKings or anything like that, FanDuel, it's the same concept where the PR is what makes your roster and not a draft each week. So definitely something to look out for. We're going to put something up on the blog for that. But hit up Jerry if you have any interest in playing, or if you have any more questions about what it's all about. Ask in the Fantasy League channel, or ask myself, ask Darkside. It's going to be fun, I think. So we're going to just do kind of like a beta of it starting week 6. So that is my promo for that. So let's talk about who you want to sit this week. Who's your 1 seed that you don't want any part of?
So for my sits, I try to do like upsets. So I think that an upset that I predict this week is Slimch versus DZB. They're both pretty close in game score. I know DZB as a local player. I know that he's a solid 1 seed, and both of these guys are over 500 PR, so it'll be a battle of the Titans. But I'm gonna give the slight edge to DZB this week.
I like that. And Slim's just coming off of the win against MMI too, so maybe a little bit of a letdown there, I guess. You see that all the time in sports where a team has a big upset. Not that Slimch over MMI was a big upset, but then they used all their energy, and then they come out a little bit flat the next week. So maybe that happens. And mine is in a similar vein. I have Edelweiss as the sit, and again, not because she's doing poorly, but she's run up against Wolfmack, who is a fantastic player, and that's just going to be a tough series. So I could easily see that being like a 3-2 for Wolfmack, which would get you 0 points if you have Edelweiss starting.
Mm-hmm.
So my 2 seed this
So
week.
who do you have sitting at the 2 seed?
At the 2 seed, this is me talking to me, because this is my own player. It's Nate, who has played. He's played well this season overall, and gotten me a few wins. But yeah, I had to sit him out this week. I forget exactly who he's playing against, but there was a good reason. And my screen just died.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to see who he played against.
Oh no!
Come on, THL website. If you see who he's playing against, let me know.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to go with my 2 seed?
Yeah, go for it while I'm trying to get the website to work.
Okay, so for my 2 seed upset this week, I have Coles versus Suzuru. So I've played with both of these guys, and they've both been on my team. Coles is doing really good at 3-1, whereas Suzuru is kind of struggling a bit at 1-2. If you guys don't remember, Suzuru had a great run in the playoffs last season where he beat Slimch, and he beat Steffi, and I'm trying to remember who he beat on Hot Pepper. Oh, KD. So, no players to scoff at. He's having a bit of a down season so far, but I expect him to pick it back up against Coles.
So you think Coles is your sit in this case? Is that what you're saying?
And correct me if I'm wrong, but prior to this week, Coles was the 3 seed?
You are correct. Some of us dropped a little bit, and then we also had a signing in SoFlo, who immediately becomes our 1 seed. So if anything, for me personally, that was just a ego management move, so that way Coles didn't move up to the 1 seed. Just kidding. I think SoFlo is going to be a great player. For anybody who doesn't know, he has a pretty good pedigree. He's top 100 legend finishes, and he played DreamHack 6-3. I think he was in Montreal, so definitely a guy to watch out for. I know we didn't mention him yet because he doesn't have a record, and yeah, I think we'll be hearing about him in a few weeks too. Also, Nate is playing Blood Hunter, so that was that. Definitely a tough matchup for Nate. So my 3 seed, and you just mentioned her, it's Steffi to sit this week, and just looking for her in the list. Glitter Bays, there you are, playing against Smiley Chris, and that's less about Steffi and more about Smiley Chris. I think Smiley Chris is one of just the generally most underrated players in the league, period, and that might be a byproduct of her PR being in the mid 300s. Doesn't really pop out, but she's capable of beating literally anyone in this league.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? What's your 3 seed? Still there, James?
So for my 3 seed, I have, and forgive me, Alvarkalon versus
I think you got that right.
Okay. And so originally, I was going to say Jammies over Donde.
Oh,
however, just because we know each other, we know our play styles, like not so much for this meta, but in general, like the kind of decks that we like to play. But I figured I'd switch it up, especially after I saw what lineups these guys are bringing. So Alvarkalon is bringing Druid, Mage, Paladin, and Rogue versus Cardigan's Druid, Hunter, Rogue, and Warlock. Now, without giving away like anyone's potential strategy or whatever, just looking at those two things, like I think Cardigan's lineup is super favored versus anything that Alvarkalon can bring, and that's why I'm giving him the edge this week.
Yeah, so Druid, Hunter, Rogue, Warlock's just the standard. These are the 4 best classes. They all have multiple archetypes. This is, pick your poison. What do you think I'm going to bring? Type of lineup. So yeah, it's definitely the safe bet for sure. So who do you have as your 4 seed to sit?
For this one, I have the Town Drunk versus Catnip, and this was another one where it's just like I didn't know who to pick. I honestly couldn't think of anything. I think the 4 seed is also another one of those seeds where everyone is around 2-2. So I just had to pick one that was like I didn't want to pick like 2 guys that are 2-2. I don't know who. Like a lot of those 2-2 matchups, I have no idea who's gonna win. But this one smells like an upset, and that's legit the only thing that I have going for it.
So mine is actually going to be probably a shocker to most people, based on the praise that we lavished at the top for him in Sylvanas League. But it's Bill Snyder. Dire Spare, I think it's a sneaky good matchup. Dire Spare is a lot better than the 307 PR indicates, and I think Bill will have fits this week with him. So I would not say it's going to be like a sweep or anything, but might just be best to keep Bill on your bench this week. And to move on to the 5 seed, this is probably going to get some more hate because we've already angered people in this player's corner today once. So my sit is Scritch, and that's because of AO. And AO is a player who I know was consistently near the top 10 when I was doing the list last season. He's having a little bit of a rough start to open this year. I think he was 2-2 when I looked, but AO is a good player, and Scritch is a good player too. I just think that it's a riskier play this week for Scritch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for my 5 seed, I was just looking at a matchup that screamed upset, and it's Karakran versus Crackshot. Karakran's only played 1 game this season, and they won 3-2. They barely won. Versus Crackshot, who's not having the best season. They're 2-2 with only a 41% win rate. But I think that out of all the 5 seeds, I think that one has the biggest chance of the presumed favorite losing.
Yeah, I would agree. That's definitely a possibility.
So those are the 5 players that I would sit this week.
All right, so we've run through our stardom, situm. I did, as I mentioned at the top, we wanted to have the fantasy standings just to kind of run through who's in first place, but unfortunately we don't have an update on those yet, so we're going to have to wait hopefully till next week to have those for everybody, but that's all we've got, and we're trying to keep the show under an hour at the very least. We don't want to keep everybody all night, but that's everything. So again, thank you guys for coming out tonight and watching the inaugural HearthCenter. We'll try to get better with the production value, and I'll try to get better with my rankings, but I make no promises on that. And also, they have to be bad, or you guys won't have any reason to yell at me, and jammies won't have any reason to insult me to my virtual face every Tuesday. So we're gonna be back again 9 o'clock next Tuesday as well. Hopefully, make this a regular thing, and hopefully have Mark Shire as well. So we'll have two people who are mad at me face to face as well. So any parting thoughts you have for anything we've talked about tonight, Jammies?
No, I'm glad that we're doing this, man. This is so much fun. I really enjoyed preparing for this, and now that I know what to expect, I'm going to prepare even better for next week to trash on you even more.
Well, you'll have to prepare, yourself to come back and listen to me gloat all week after after you lose to me.
Oh, no,
So
I forgot about that.
yeah, I'm just saying it's gonna
Not
be
even
tough
a
for
thought
you.
in my head.
It's gonna be very tough for you. So thank you guys
Yeah.
again. Please consider subbing if you haven't. Definitely turn on follow so you get notifications for when we go live, even if it's about our show. It's like I said, it helps us out. So thank you guys for coming out, and I hope you guys have a great night. We'll see you on the blog with the written version of the rankings. We'll also have the team power rankings tomorrow for you too. So that does it for us, and we'll catch you later.
Bye.